Cool. So why I'm asking that is because what we are learning here are very basics and very simple concepts on how these LLMs work. And in the last session, I explained that there will be a slight learning curve, and why would that learning curve be there? And it is kind of unavoidable. For example, if you want to use even as in it's not about using a no-code platform or a code platform or using an IDE. You want to use Lovable, Replit, N10. It's in the end, the choice is yours. But for using N10 properly or using Replit properly or for using even Lovable properly, you need to understand certain logics and certain basics, right? And once you understand that, uh, you are not bound by a platform because it will take you at least 4 or 5 months to master it be at a very basic level for even N10. But if you get blocked in N10 and you're not able to solve something in N10, then you have to relearn everything from scratch for some other platform, right? So that's why we are learning these very basics in the first session and in the current session as well. And I'll make it as easy as possible because I'll not talk in technical jargons. I'll not talk in even personally, even I'm not a developer. I'm just I've been learning this stuff myself since the last 2.5 3 years now. And I have drilled down my approach of learning so that anyone who wants to get started or master all these concepts would can do it in 6 months, even if they're starting from scratch. If they're already a developer, if they already know certain concepts, it'll be faster for them. And you can find all of these details which were discussed in the first session. So I tell you how you can locate or go through the first session, and even the second session details will be updated there. So I have provided a GitHub repo. So GitHub repo is just a link to a folder of files, right? It is nothing. Don't. It is nothing to be scared of. Many people get scared of GitHub itself. It's a very simple. If it's a public link, if you open this link, you will see a README. So README is nothing but a Notion doc for developers, I would say, right? And it is I have written very simple, practical language, and you will find the details of the session one, in length detail of session one. You'll find what is the learning curve based on your level where you are currently, and then you will find all the meeting notes, the recordings, any transcripts, QAs from the first session, and all the examples and sample code we learned in the first session. So that you can navigate here and find. You can once you want just see the video and you want to start practicing, you can just clone this repo and get started on your own, and it's fairly easy, right? So this is how you can learn about the first session if you have already not learned it or viewed it, because we will discuss a lot of things in today's session. Mostly you'll understand, but if once you go through the first session as well, you will understand everything in very very depth, and it will become very easy and very, I would say, fun for you to kind of play around and use these tools the way I am using. Right. So I'll just get started now with today's session, and we'll take a quick recap of what we did in the first session, and then quickly jump into the today's concepts. Okay. Just yeah. So this thing is an ID, as an and I'll talk in very layman terms. I would not assume anyone is a developer or anyone knows anything. Even I don't know anything, and this I'll talk in that basic terms, and it will be very understandable. So this is an ID. This is how you play or write code and execute code. This is a platform, and it looks very overwhelming, but for beginners, only three things are important here, and you don't have to even look or click at anything else. There is one Explorer. This is this button in every ID, which is basically access to your files. You can see all the files, everything that you see on this GitHub repo itself, right? It is the same structure, same files, which is opened in locally in my ID. That's what an ID is, and I can go around, move around in files, and I see the code of that file here. That's it. That's the one thing you need to know about. The second thing you need to know about is the terminal. So terminal within the ID, you can open with a button here, right? Or You can do a control tilde, the tilde button below your escape key. Kiran, am I audible now? You said lost my sound.
You're audible.
Yeah, good. Right. So this is how you execute or run any file that you have here. Right. These are the only two things that you need to learn about the ID for the for the next 1 year also. If you want to, learn, practice, build any kind of automations, these are literally the only two things. Nothing else is there. Rest is, ignore everything else. It's literally useless. Right. Now, coming to the recap of the first session. So in the first session, we did, these two modules, which is a level one fundamentals and level two fundamentals. Here, what we learned was how to get over that blocker and get started with uh, understanding LLMs from a very basic level. So there is only one API, literally. There is only one API call, and every LLM provider has that similar structure of API call, right? And that is the only thing you need to run. The code that I have highlighted here, if you can see, I'll just zoom in a little. Right. So this 5 lines of code, once you practice this and once you learn this, you will get over your fear of using an ID, and this will unblock you in understanding a lot of other things, because APIs for any other product or any other software would work in the same way. And what is powerful about this API is that this one API evolves into at least 100 different things with just changing a few things and a little parameters, right? So I'll just quickly run this one file, and then we'll do just another file in the revision of the first session. So how I am going to run this, and here also you just need to know a few commands. So I am writing here. This is me activating basically a sandbox environment for me. So this is the programming language called Python, right? Is my screen still visible, right? Yeah. So this is I have activated a virtual environment. If you see, you see this VENV here, right? So in this virtual environment, there are requirements that are required to run any software. For example, in layman terms, if I want to play GTA 5, I need to have a graphic card, right? So this environment has that graphic card so that I can play GTA 5. That's all. And now I want to run this particular file called step one. Step one is nothing but a simple API call, which is me sending a message to Anthropic, an API call to Anthropic as a platform which will respond to me. So how do I navigate there? I just write, there is another command, CD. CD is just me navigating through folders, right? So I write CD and I can do, I can move to the folder fundamental level one. I click on this, right? And I can just do a simple Python 3 -n and step one, right? Once again, yes, the monitor is stuck. It's a pretty bad day for this. Just give me a second. Yeah. Right. So I did Python 3 -n step one, which is where I ran this particular program. Now, whatever you see here, right, it's just a print statement, which you can see in the code file there, that I've added extra print statements for readability and understanding, and what is going to happen here, right? And that is all. So this API call, what was the API call that I sent as a user? I sent hello cloud to the LLM endpoint, which is Anthropic's endpoint, right? And this is what the API responded. This is the response. Hello, it's nice to meet you, and how can I help you today? That's all. And that is one API call. And now this API call evolves into 10 things. It can evolve into a chat, into a simulation. It can evolve into agents. And how we do that and how these LLMs functions will unblock a lot of things for you in terms of any other platform, because they also use this same API to build those platforms and you will be able to understand how everything is working under the hood. Right. So I'll just skip to another step, which is a little evolved in this then. Yeah. So this is the second step, second improvement. Basically, here what I'm going to be doing is in the same API. Again, this is the same API. If you see closely, you have one API. I have added one more parameter, which is your prompt, right? You keep seeing that there are prompts. You can add prompts. So this is a system prompt. So I have added a system prompt that you are the founder of GrowthX. You will greet people with this particular phrase, WhatsApp chat, right? And respond in HTML formatted data. So now this API is supposed to work in HTML formatted data. So this is step three. I'll just press enter. Yeah. Right. Same again. Again, this is the only code that executes. Rest, whatever you see here is just printing of whatever execution that happened. And we will evolve this into a web app also within this session itself, where you'll see interactions in the UI, which will be more easier to understand. But to understand why that UI interactions are working, how are they working, it's important to understand this stuff as well. And so now this is how the AI responded to me. Now the AI responded in HTML formatting as I asked it to respond to me in an HTML formatting. So I just changed one parameter, a system prompt, and I told it that respond in HTML formatting, so its behavior changed. Right now, I'll evolve it into another simple flow. Yeah. So now this is important. This I'll just cover up. Now, what happens is uh, for these LLMs to be very reliable for business automations or workflows, you need to ensure that whenever GPT is responding or Anthropic is responding to you, it is in a particular structure. A simple example would be that you keep telling GPT that never use M dash or never end a sentence like this or never end a sentence like that. But what if it keeps happening? So your developers have to write a lot of parsing edge cases to read that context and build the automation over it. And then one fine day, there would be many errors in the responses, and that parsing fails. Then all the business automations won't give you that value, as in that efficiency. But there is a method by which you can ensure that your output is 100% times accurate and your automation will never break. So this is what adds a lot of value for businesses, right? So how this happens is, again, there is a parameter called tools. Again, we will be using that same API. These 6 lines of code, nothing more. This 6 lines of code keeps evolving with parameters. So you had the system message in the last evolution. Now I'm introducing tools. So tools is nothing but a structured prompt. Now this is again a prompt that the tool's name is the GrowthX founder meets and greets people. But I have defined that, okay, you respond me with a greeting, you respond me with a about GrowthX. You tell me what does GrowthX do. You tell me why should someone join GrowthX. Uh, sorry, who should join GrowthX, and then why join GrowthX, right? And if you will see within this, I can also define a particular structure that, okay, the greeting should be a string. It's string in the sense a simple sentence, right? Again, about GrowthX should be a string. But now I want a list of items, because somewhere maybe in the UI or WhatsApp, I just want to display a list of bullet points, or in my app, etc. So I can ask it to respond in a particular format. So I have told it that, okay, respond in a array, right? So in this case, it will now respond me with a list. Again, who should join GrowthX is an array. Again, this is a list. And why should you join GrowthX is again a list. And in this, additionally, what you can do, again, to tell you, reiterate this is just a format of responding, but this still is a system prompt. So in this system prompt, I write my description, right? So I have told it, okay, always respond in a way Yoda would respond. So in this case, what should happen is that I will get a structured output, plus it will also adapt to the behavior I have asked it to adapt. So again, what I'm doing is just I wrote Python 3, and the command can change for Windows. It will be Python -m, but for Mac, it is just one command. This is how you run a Python script. That's the only thing, right? So now if you see the response, right? So this is the raw response. this is the API response that is coming from, it can be OpenAI or Anthropic, both work in the same manner. Now, this time it has told me that, okay, I am using a tool. So now since I defined the tool parameters and schema, so I always know when it says I'm using a tool, I know what to expect. So I don't have any edge cases anymore. So I was expecting a greeting in a string method. If you can see, there is a greeting. There's a greeting in a string, right? A single sentence about GrowthX. Again, a single sentence. What does GrowthX do? Is a list of items. If you see a list of items in the sense that you will be able to see commas and separations. Right? So the sentences are a little large, so it keeps breaking. This is one sentence and comma ending here. This is the second sentence. This is the next sentence. Who should join GrowthX? If you see again a list. This is an array. So I can define it to be a nested array. I want MCQ options. I want to generate questions, multiple choice questions. So I can define whatever I want to define, and I'll always get data in that way. And within the description, I can also define the behavior. So why join GrowthX? I told that you should talk like Yoda here while responding in a list. If you read this, it'll say learn from real cases. You will theory alone, not enough. It is now. It is also adapting to the behavior. At the same time, it is ensuring that the output is in the same in an exact structure what I expected, right? So this is how tools work in prompting, and it helps you in multiple ways, which we will learn a lot about today. Yeah. So now I'll give you a real quick overview of a real business case using tools. Now I'm not calling it a chat or an agent or messages. It is just me doing an API call to the Anthropic platform, and Anthropic responding to me uh, with a result. Now, what I do with that result depends on me. So this is the business problem. What I'll show you right now. One second. Suddenly the power came back, and all my monitors turned on. Yeah. Right. So the business case is this, that a platform, for example, I'll call the platform, say, Lead Code, right? So Lead Code is a platform where the business team came in and told that we already have an online assessment system, and we want to now expand it to a bunch of new technologies. Right? Why do we want to expand? Because Amazon or Oracle, multiple companies are now hiring for AI engineers, ML engineers, data engineers who help build data pipelines and multiple other skills. Now they provided product managers with a list of skills that they want to assess. So now the list of skills is fairly large. It is a 200, and this is sample data. This is small, but on the real case, the list of skills is fairly large. And within each skill, you have what is a micro scale, what is the final mega scale we need to test. Now, for a technical assessment, all these couple of product managers, they had to figure out, uh, is their current system capable or not? If it is capable, then what is the standard test? What is the standard assessment we have to do? And if it is not capable, again, what is the standard assessment we have to do? Additionally, uh, Additionally, if we are not able to do the standard assessment, why we are not able to do it, right? So if I logically think now as a business problem, how can I solve this problem? Is either I find all the people who belong to these domains, all the experts, and I ask them how can I solve this problem, right? Or either I one by one search, do a lot of research, figure out what concept it is, or what is the standard test Amazon does, what is the standard test Samsung does for this skill, and then I uh, understand what these tests are, how these tests are happening, right? And then Then I check against my platform. Okay, can I run those tests on my platform? Right. So this would take any product manager at least 6 to 9 months of time. Or if they have to find skilled people, they have to find 100 highly skilled people in each domain to get this data validated. So what they did, that they built an agent, not an agent, a simple AI script that would parse this data, that will take in your requirements and steps, what to validate. It will search the web and it will respond with all the data that is required. Right. So now if you'll see here, uh, this again is that same API call. I just come to that API call, and you'll see how it has evolved. Yeah. So this again, that six. These are the same six lines that you have to fight with, or overcome a fear of using or learning. Nothing more than that. Now, what is additional in this? There is nothing additional. You again have a system prompt, you have a tool, and you have a user message which is predefined. That a user is telling, please analyze this skill. This is the micro skill. This is the mega skill. This is the discipline. What is the system prompt here, and what is the tool? So there is a larger system prompt because you can add very large system prompts and you can add variables on those system prompts. So this is a system prompt that, okay, you are an AI expert. This is the current available system that lead code has, and this is the assessment we can do. This is your task, and these are variables that keep changing in the system prompt whenever the script will run on that data. Since that data is a list of items, so you can run a script on that list of items multiple times. So it's not an agent per se, it's just doing one API call researching and just getting you back that data. But now, since you want that data to be structured, you define a tool. This is the tool. Okay, always return the results of your analysis in this format. That this is the discipline name, this is the skill name, micro skill name that we analyzed. Does it actually require a technical assessment? Uh, can be assessed in the current setup, and you can define everything. Yes, no, how you have to respond, what kind of data. Then if it can be assessed, what are all the assessment names? There is a Python test, there is a algorithm test, there is a DP test, three kinds of tests, and this is how you do that testing, right? If we can't assess it, why can't we assess it? And what is the requirements we need to have in our infra to actually make that possible, right? So now the product managers can come back to your business team quickly, say in a couple of days itself, and give this data which is factually correct, and it will have citations from the internet, which can be validated and verified all the time, right? So I am what I'm doing here now is I'm just navigating again. So I was at in this folder, if you see earlier, level one. So I'm just going to level two. So if I have to go back, I just do cd dot dot. I can go back, and then I can do cd again and just type where I want to go, and I am in that particular folder now. Right. So I want to now run this, script called step 5. Right. So if you are able to read this now, in step 5, what I've done is there are two data sets. You can, once you experiment, you can use any data set. So there, for the call, there is a small data set within which has only three scales. Right. The larger one has more. So you can run your analysis when you want to run. So now what AI will do, it will just assess every skill. It will search the web. It will respond me with an answer in the required format. Right. So now it is giving me a CSV file, which is again like if you can open it in an Excel file, you will see that data, and it is always in the format that I require. Okay, this is the assessment that has to be done. This is the name of the assessment. What is the process the candidate has to actually do? All the algorithms, etc. Because it would have been impossible for a few people to validate this list of 600 to 700 online interviews without actually talking to domain experts or doing extreme in-depth research. But with this simple tool, they were able to do it in 2 days, and with all factual data backing that analysis. So this is how that one simple API where I was just sending one message and getting a response has evolved into, again, here I'm just sending a message and I'm getting a response, but I'm sending that message over and over again, and as many times as I want to with variable data, and I am getting a structured response which I'm storing in my variable in my CSV file, which you can consider a database for now. And it's a CSV is also a simple kind of a database. I'm just storing that data in my database, reading that data from my database as well. Right. So now this is done. If you would do this for 600 skills, it'll take at least half an hour to 3 hours of time, depending upon how many tools or what level depth of research you are doing. Right. So yeah. So now we'll come to today's session. Right. So that was just a little brief about the first session. We did that for 2 hours. We went through every step and understood every thing about it. And now we'll uh, learn about how you can evolve that messaging into chat simulations, and how those chat simulations finally turn into your, you can call them agents, tools, workflows, whatever you want to call them. But we'll figure out what is an actual agent, when does it become an agent in today's session itself, right? Additionally, I just wanted to say this, that I show you just one thing. If you have any questions, on your Meet screen, you'll be able to see one icon in the meeting tools in the right corner. And so there is a QA section. In that QA section, you can just keep posting your questions. By the end of the session, and once in the middle of the session, we'll do all the QAs at once. So what I'm doing here, again, I'm just navigating back to the main folder, and I'm navigate into the third folder. That because I want to go into the third folder. So I can just type, I can do even tab. So it will predict on the keywords. And now I'm within the third folder, right? And just to give you a little preview of what we will see by the end of the session, in today's session itself. So this is my live website, right? So as we discussed, and as it is mentioned, like a blogging agent. So with the press of one key, within 3 minutes, a simple automation will write blogs with market research and citations and publish it on a real website. Parallelly, with again a couple of messages, a very simple presentation agent who will build your presentation within 3 to 4 minutes, and he'll ask you a few questions. It will search the web, will get you all the data that is required, and this is very simple level of agents, not very complex. Once we add complexities, you can improve it to get any kind of output you want. And for that, these 2 3 concepts are important to learn. That's why I'm not just jumping ahead. As in, I have the folder here, I can just go and run, but you will see it running, you'll feel very, oh, it's wow, it's amazing. But then how it is running, once you go back home, you'll not be able to figure it out yourself. Right. Now coming to chat. So this is when we start evolving that single API call into a simulation of messages. A simulation of messages is always in a defined format. There will be an assistant. There will be an assistant message. There will be a user message, and it will always follow the same logic. Without following that logic, that API starts breaking, and this is how you build memory or context. Okay, it remembers what I'm saying, and how it remembers what I'm saying is what we will figure out, and how to manage that, and how to use that to build big larger automations and tools. Right. So if you see again, this is that one simple API call, which is I am requesting for a response from the LLM provider, and I've given it a system message. And this time within a message, I'm not giving just one user message. I'm giving it a list, right? So if you see here, this is a list. This is the role user, and there will be one user input that I will be providing as a user. That will be the starting of my list. And whenever the assistant is going to respond, I will keep appending that response to that list, so that that list keeps becoming larger, and it starts taking a form of a chat. Right now, that chat can be used in multiple ways. You can manually chat and build a chatbot, right? Or you can simulate a chat with tools and third party inputs to build agents and tools. Right, so don't confuse it with just say, because the API is called messages and chats. It is not uh, only used for chatting, right? So that chat simulation itself becomes turns into agents and tools. So we'll see how, and it'll not take more than 30-25 minutes to go over this. Except this, whatever is code is in that file, in this file, is just printing stuff so that you can read in the terminal what is happening. Right. So I've just printed here how to use this in the terminal. It's giving you one explanation and a method how it works. And if you want to exit this, you can type exit. If you want to start a new conversation, you can type clear. And this is here it says you. So I'll just say hi. And now this is cloud. This is where the AI will respond to me. Right. So I now why it is saying he is Udayan, because somewhere in the prompt. Yeah. In the system message, I've told you are the founder of GrowthX and you always talk like Yoda. We can change this. You can play around with these prompts and figure out how to make them work for you. This is now my third message. That if you can see here, it is printing. What is the context till now, so that you understand how that context is building up. This was my first message. Then there was an assistant response. Then my next message, again an assistant response. Now there are four messages in this context. So I'll tell some, fact that it should remember. I scored. Right. So I'm just asking it a random question, and I scored, this much in 12th. Can I get into GrowthX? Why I'm asking this number, because I'll just check does it actually remember, right? So that's how it's becoming a chat, and my context is getting into this list of history, right? So now the context is 6, and this is the response from Udayan. I'll say, so I'm asking it now, ki what was my 12 percentage again? So it should uh, logically remember this, right? Because I told it. So now if you see the cloud response, 55%, 55.5% was your 12 percentage, right? So now this is how a list of messages becomes a chat. As in, I'm using the same API call every time. I'm just sending one API call and getting a response. But this time what I'm doing is I'm sending the history of the messages that I sent and the response that I received. So that becomes a longer list of messages, which we call a chat. It's like I just typed quit to exit this program, because we'll evolve this chat into the next level now. Right. So now this is again the same API call. In this, what we are doing is we will start storing this. So, for example, I want to access some memory again or redo some chat, and I want to also save that in my history. So you can store this in a database. You can store this in a CSV, but right now that is not the problem to solve. So we will just store it locally in a very simple file, which we can read as well. And if you will see here, yeah, again, there is this one core API call, and everything is getting built around this. There is no other technology, any concept that you want to learn. If you just learn and practice with this one API call, you will be able to solve hundreds of new problems, because everything works on the same logic. And problem with other platforms is that you will get overwhelmed. They have 100 different API calls. But with LLMs, there is only one API call per platform. Cloud literally has this one API call, and you can do hundreds of things with just this API call. And so I just run the second chat now. Right. If you see this bunch of stuff getting printed here, it is nothing but the print statements I've added here so that you can understand how to use it in your terminal. What is going to be happening in this new say level of chat, we will be assigning one ID to each chat. We will be storing them in a local file. It will automatically store whenever I send a message and I get a response. And whenever I want to resume that conversation, I can always resume that conversation. Now it just says press enter to start. And this is right now everything is happening with backend scripts. So these are called backend scripts, and all the backend business logic is working in my terminal. That's all, right? So it says that there are no saved conversations. I can either start a new one or I can exit. I'll say I'll start a new one. Right. So again, I'm just chatting here. Nothing more, nothing different than the last chat we tried. But this time, what we're doing is that in your folders, what you start seeing is that there's a folder called conversations. In this, data will start getting stored. So there is a conversation ID, and now you will be actually able to see what is the list of messages that is going every time in an API call. Right. So this is the first time when I said, hi, I am Neil, this is the first time we did an API call to Anthropic, or you can say OpenAI, any LLM provider. It gave us a response. Now, when I send my next message, this is when I do my next API call. Right? So this time I've done my next API call, but this time what I'll do is I'll pick this data, I will attach my next message, this user message, and then I'll get this response. So now since I'm saving it always, so I can see that my message list is growing. That's why your context limit, starts getting bloated. You have to compact conversations. You have to save in user memory. Sometimes the LM will say the chat is too long. Start a new chat now, right? So that this is why the problems start rising, but it will not happen until 200, 300 messages or unless you are providing a lot of data, right? So context limit for current models is somewhere around 200K to 400K tokens, and that is around 800,000 to 1 million words, right? In terms of if I have to convert it into blogs or some, a format that you can measure to, it's like 500 blogs can be inserted in one chat over across messages, right? And it will not forget, and that context will remain. Unless that your data is larger than that, you don't have to worry about any other problem, RAG or any other solution, because it can handle that. And since the memory is there, it will always remember. And the most important part is that the sequence, every user message has to be followed by an assistant message. Every assistant message then has to be followed by a user message. And this logic has to always be maintained. Otherwise, your system will break. The APIs will start giving you errors, because that is how, the LLM decides, okay, now I have to respond. Whenever there is a user message, then the LLM has to respond. And why is that important? We will understand in the next chat tree that we are going to do. And so I just sent the message and I received the response, and that pair of messages was stored. Now this list is getting longer, and this object is called JSON. JSON is just a format of file. It can be CSV, text, whatever you feel comfortable with, whatever whatever is easy and beginner friendly and less scary. You can use that. It's not a problem at all. And so I'll just quit again here. Sorry, it was like this. Right. So now since we are storing data, so I'll just run this program again, chat2, right? And it just says press enter to start. It now tells me that I have recent conversations. Now, when I have to build a UI, I can have a sidebar and I can show that this is your chat history. You can continue that chat history. That is what is happening right now. So since there is no UI present at this moment, it might feel scary and confusing. but everything that is happening from within the UI is happening because of these logics that are written in the backend of any application. So now I can continue the old conversation, right? So I am back in that same conversation, and I will ask. It told me goodbye, Neil, and if I continue, the next messages will start coming from here. So this is basically I ended a chat on ChatGPT and I came back next day and I started talking. I'm just checking if it remembers. So I told it, I told the LLM that I am from Jaipur. So logically it should remember. Yeah. So it says, remember, I do. You are from Jaipur and you are Neelse. Like, so this command, what I'm writing, clear. It just helps clearing this area, whatever was filled there. So it becomes more readable again. Right. And now this is the last and most important concept. After this, everything is just, prompting and building whatever you can think of building. Because once you are confident till here, once you, go through, use these at least 2, 3 times personally, right? All these files, and once you are comfortable this with this chat tree, then I can guarantee you within 7 days you can build or solve any problem that you want to solve from an IDE. And if you see all this code that is here, right? I have literally not written one single line of code. As in, it's been 2.5 years. I have never written this code. I just type my commands there, and when I actually have to code, what I do is I can literally call. I can type Cloud, right? So now Cloud is there and it can help me, I can resume my old conversations. If you see, I'll just give you, one old conversation. So this is literally me working on this folder. So I built the whole UI and these two folders I built literally in the last 4 hours. Literally last 4 hours. But I was able to do that in last 4 hours because I have understood these concepts. And that's why I'm, kind of showing this to you that, you don't get scared. You don't have to write any code. You just need to know your way around how to navigate this. And if you run into any problem, how to see there is a bug and tell Cloud, okay, solve this bug. That's all. This is also vibe coding. This is literally vibe coding, but you are at a, I would say if everything is a wrapper, you are at a layer one of a wrapper, or a replit or a lovable will be a layer three, right? And 10 would be a layer two, but this is layer one. Below this is layer zero, where real developers are writing all the code, even at a lower level language in this. But at this level, it is very easy to learn, and these concepts help you with using platforms IDs directly, or even if you want to use a platform like Anytime or Replit or Lovable, you will be very sure that what you're doing and what might be the limitations of that platform, because you understand how that platform now works. So I'll just close Cloud Code for now because we'll not be using it today. Yeah. So let's run. Again, this is the same command. Literally Python 3 minus n. That's only one command I have to learn. Python 3 minus n. That's all. And it's very easy to learn. And all I have to do is type chat 3. And I can even ask Cloud to do this, but I prefer doing this myself because it gives me a little more control. As in, I can literally ask Cloud, please run this file. It will run that file. You don't even have to type all this if you don't want to type all this. But then it just wastes extra time and tokens, because this is like literally 2 words I have typed. Then I call an LMs, waste $2 to write these 2 words every time. Right. Now let's see what's different in chat 3. Right. So you have again the same API. This is literally those 6 lines of code that is being repeated everywhere. But now this time you have a tool called weather tool. So there are two kinds of uses of these tools. One is that you just get a structured output, like we did that in business problem. You analyze this and give me the structured output. I end the conversation. I'm not stimulating a chat further to accomplish any goal, right? Second thing is that I can use that tool and I can parse that output and I can actually call any third-party API. Right. So when you see on the web, Cloud or GPT goes into deep thinking, research mode or artifact mode. Right. So they're actually calling tools. So LLM cannot actually access the internet itself. It will tell the developer at OpenAI, I want to access the internet and I want to access this website with this query. So then how the developer identifies that, in this case, I would say, OpenAI or Anthropic wants to access the weather. So I'll just run this chat now. Right. If you see here, this is just a logical explanation what is different in this chat, just for a theory to read. This is no code or nothing. This is just a print statement with logical explanation and an example of how the conversation will happen. Now it tells me I can start a new conversation because no saved conversation was found. So I'll start a new conversation. Right. So again, there is a system message. You are the founder again, Udayan, and I've told it that you also have access to a tool called Weather Tool, so which you can use to always fetch weather in real time. Right. So okay, right now I'll ask you what's the weather like in Bangalore. Right. So now LLMs are trained only till March 2025, so it should not know the real time weather. So now, if it has to know the real time weather, it has to talk to the internet. So now, and it cannot directly talk to the internet itself. So how does that happen? So that is where these tools evolved into newer functionalities. And again, as I mentioned, this is the same thing. It's a tool like the other tools we had, but this time this tool is being used to do something else. Now I asked the weather in Bangalore, and it told me that this is the current temperature and this is the humidity and wind speed, and you can even validate this because it is fetching from real time data. Like it so asked what is the weather in Thane. Now it has responded me with the weather in Thane. Now what I'll show you the important part, because like this is again the chat. It's boring stuff. I can see the chat again. Oh, sorry. So for your chat tree, we have included a tool in chat tree. Again, you have that same conversation history. There is a user message. Hi, how are you? I asked. Then it responded. Then I asked as a user to it that what's the weather like in Bangalore. This time again there was an assistant response, but you will see a difference. That this time there was an assistant response, and it told that it wants to use a tool. So this is the LLM telling me, because I'm managing how the LLM works, or how it interacts with other things. It's telling me that it wants to use a get weather tool for the city Bangalore and country India. Right. So at this time, as a developer or anyone who's building this app or any product they want to build, what they will do is write a tool execution for it. That is called tool execution. So how that tool execution works now. Right. So now, so this is the execution that we have written. Again, you don't have to write this. You just to understand what is an execution. So if there is a get weather, execute this. So these are scripts in Python. It can be in any language you prefer. It can be JavaScript, etc. Whatever you like. But this is a script which is calling a third party API. So visual crossing is a open source API which if you send a city and country to it, it will return you with weather forecast of 15 days, today's weather, whatever you want. It'll give you that. And this is how the API is called. It returns me some data, and that data is not again returned to the LLM. I have to ensure that the response of that API goes back to the LLM. Now, if I go back to my conversation, so as I mentioned earlier, every assistant message has to be followed by a user message, and every user message has to be again followed by an assistant message. But when there is an assistant message of tool use, it has always, if you have to continue the conversation or continue the chat, it has always to be followed up by a user message called tool result. And this tool result message is not in most times, if you're using a chatbot, you will never see this tool use and tool result messages. They'll filter out these messages. Why is this tool result important? Because it asks us to call the API. We call the API. Now this is the result of that API. This is what the API told me on India this date. This is the weather of Bangalore. This is some summary, partly cloudy. This is the temperature. This is the humidity. And now since I've returned this message as a tool result, the assistant is now generating a human facing message, which is like human readable. Right. So if you see, I asked it right here, what is the temperature, or what is the weather like in Bangalore. So there was a tool use when Cloud asked to tool use. We returned the value. This was the API result. And now this is again the assistant message, which is facing the user, the actual user, or whoever is finally consuming the response of that data. Right. So why I'm saying finally consuming? Because it is not mandatory that everything is a chat. Because since we are using chatbots, it's not mandatory that you have to build a UI and actually chat with it. You can run simulations and build tools and automations using this simulation logic. So this here, it is a human facing response. So again, then I ask, okay, can you tell me what's the weather like in Thane? If it's a normal user input, you will see this difference. This content block will be different. Here is my general input. Now I've asked weather for Thane. So now assistant knows, okay, if I have to tell the weather of Thane, I will again use the weather tool. I'll tell the developer to go get me weather of Thane. Then again, there is a user response that gets added, which is in a different format than a normal message, which is called tool result. That is the only difference. And this is the most, I think this is the last thing that you would have to learn to solve 90% of your problems. There is nothing more in using any LLM's API. If you go through these four simple API calls, uh, you know, and another three these, literally seven, it will not take you more than 1 hour a day, or if you're very curious, it will not take you more than 6 hours a day, and it'll take you 2 days. But if you do 1 hour a day, it'll take you 7 days to 10 days. That is the only uh, uh, learning curve or early blocker that you have. Beyond that, it becomes very easy. And so we'll take some questions now, and then we'll move to actual automations, which are UI based. You would be able to see what is happening, and we'll do real time blogs and real time presentation building. And these are again simple tools. We will not be doing complex tools in today's session, because that complex tools itself will take at least one and a half hour to explain per tool. So I've taken very simple ones based on inputs from people. In the next session, we'll do real, more complex tools. Okay, so I'll just go to the QA section. Yeah, so you can also go to the QA section. If you resonate with some question, you can mark it thumbs up. So it moves to popular. So everyone's answers get solved quickly. So Anshul has asked how the content of user tool result got generated. Right. So if I show you in this chat, right. So when the LLM told me that it has to use a tool, right? And I'm just doing control F and searching, nothing more. You can do those this in your browser also. Don't get confused that what sorcery is happening. Suddenly something is changing. So I just did control F and I'm searching tool use, right? So I have added a check that okay, if the stop reason is tool use, and the tool use would contain certain name. If the tool, because why I'm saying Python also, because it is very human readable and very mathematical. It says if the tool name is get weather within tool use, then execute tool result. Execute weather tool is a script that I execute, which gives me certain result, right? Then based on this execution, right? So this is the execution, and it will respond certain data. It will return weather info. This is the format of weather info. The weather of this location. This is the summary. This is the temperature. This is the humidity. This is the wind speed. Return weather info. So now this function is returning some data back to where I actually did the tool call, right? When it returned the data, now I am appending that message. Type tool result, which is the question, right? How does tool result get generated? So I am now generating the tool result myself. It does not get automatically generated. LLM cannot talk to the internet. Uh, you have to actually write those executions to make this happen every time, right? So you do a tool, you type tool result, and this is the content which we already formatted here. And if you see in the chat history, so there was a tool use get weather for Bangalore and tool results. So the content was weather of Bangalore, then summary, right? As I showed you in the code part earlier just now. Then there was the next line temperature. Then there was the next line humidity. Then there was the next line wind speed. So this was returned to the LLM as a tool result, and we appended it to the tool use. Dot append was appending it, right? So to the assistant message, I appended a user message tool result, and I at this time I sent all these messages together to the LLM provider, because if I don't send all these messages together, what I can do is I can literally skip a couple of messages, but I still have to follow a sequence. Every assistant message has to has a user message, and vice versa. But it's my choice when to skip messages. Right now, context is not a problem, so we are not solving for reducing context or solving for token uses, etc. That's a good problem to have, and that does not occur in 95% cases. So this is how tool result is generated. So the patient is asking what is the objective of the temperature parameter. It just controls it controls, as in you will find more detail for that in session one. It controls the probability of, I would say in simple term, it controls the probability of hallucination of an LLM. It might start hallucinating at a temperature which is at a higher range of 1.2. It will predict data that it just thinks probably should be there. So even if that value might not be present, it start predicting data. But if you reduce it, it checks against probability. That if the probability is low, and probability is very high, okay, 90% probability that this is the next word, then only it will respond that with that word. But for more details, you can, as in I would suggest you see the first session. We talked about this for at least 20 minutes around temperature. It's Manish asked that can I explain the messages again? As in I just did. If you want me to explain again, I can do it at the end of the session. And if you're clear, you can just type in the chat that okay, you understood.
I just wanted to understand the only part of like how the sequencing of it works, right? Like I see after every assistant a user has to there should be a user block. And I just want to know how this is defined there in the like in the original. It's so like is it something that you have configured like and what I didn't understand is once we have the tool, how that is in uh, should it follow the same sequence? Just that bit, otherwise, like,
Right. So yeah, so we configured it, right? So this, as I mentioned, this was the API. Okay? I'm calling the API to Anthropic, which has the model name, my system prompt, and then in messages, like if you see in the first API call, right? So in messages, I just have one single message, right? This was the step one that we saw. I'm just sending one single message. But once I come to a chat level, what I can do is I can send a list of messages, which I've declared as a variable called messages itself. And how this list is building is defined here. Like, whenever there is a user input in this particular format, this is the format, right? Role, user, content, user input. Again, this is the variable. Whatever input I was giving here or in my UI as a chat agent, I give uh, that is the user input. So to the message list, add this message. I sent my first message to the empty list. The first message got added, and then we did an API call. Then there was an assistant response, and then there is another little execution, as a little configuration here. Whenever there is an assistant message, to whenever there's an assistant message, use this. Read the assistant message and turn it in this format: role, assistant, content, assist, whatever the content was in the message, and append message. As in this is again messages the list to the messages list appended in this format: role, assistant, and append. So I'll just show you here. Again, this is the format, right? Role, content, and with every append, it is just appending that message. So we started with an empty list. Then this was the first message. Whenever the response came, we appended it here. Then there was another user input. We appended it. Then there was an assistant response. We appended it. And there was a user response. Then we appended it. So that's how we keep building this list of messages.
Got it. And then when the tool comes in, we have to confirm to the same mail, which is why I think that under the tool use, we kind of put it as a user.
Yeah. So whenever a tool comes in, whenever a tool use comes in, there it again needs to be appended with a user message because it was a assistant message the tool use call when the assistant was requesting, fundamentally requesting how to and requesting to execute a tool. But since I can't provide a user input to it, so I add a user message with the label of user, but I add the tool result. So I was building the tool result from that weather API.
Got it. Good.
Yeah. So Prem Prakash has a question. When we send messages list in the prompt, which is the complete conversation, does it increase the costing? Yes. So with every API call, your list of messages is getting longer. In my first API call, there were 100 tokens. It got a response of 50 tokens. It is 150. In my next API call, it will be 150 plus whatever I'm sending. It can be another 100 tokens. So it becomes 250 plus a response. So in the next one, it becomes 350, 450. If the response is larger, it becomes 1,000, 2,000. But the token limit is up to 200,000, and in beta versions there is 1 million. There are two limits. So one is a limit to what you can send, and there is a limit to what it can respond. So as whenever assistant responds, there's a length of that message. So the limit of that response is currently for Anthropic 64,000 tokens. For OpenAI, I guess also it is 64,000 tokens or maybe 32,000 tokens. And 64,000 tokens is 1.5 lakh characters and words. So as most of the things can be done in a single response itself. Okay. So next question is by Amarjeet. What is the best practices to structure tool means? Is that any thumb rule? What are the parameters we should define in a tool? It completely depends on the use case. So we will see a couple of use cases and then we will be clear. The best practices. There is a simple 1 page document by Claude itself. It just tells you that your descriptions of the tool should be very clear. What the tool's purpose is, and uh, so there is a field called parameters required. So you should mention whatever is required to it. So it always ensures that it responds with that data. So it never misses out on that data. I'll just show you the required field here. 1 second. Yeah. So this is my weather tool, right? So I have nailed it. It is basically I'm writing English in a JSON format, nothing more. I'm telling, and this goes as a prompt to the LLM. LLM does not understand it is a tool, etc. It does not. It just reads it as a JSON object, and they have configured it to respond in a certain way. Now I have told it get weather, and I have defined the description: get current weather of a specific city in a country, right? And continue. Then there is a parameter called required. These two, the values of city name and country are required whenever you want to use the tool. So whenever the assistant message is tool use, these values should be present. Otherwise, if the country India is not present, how do I do the weather API call? Because the weather API call expects me to send the country name. And that's how you do API calls, right? So whenever you do an API call, there are certain parameters that you have to fill. So depending upon how you execute that tool, your tool definition itself would change, right? So that again changes on use case to use case. Once you build a few simple integrations, you will understand very easily. Yeah. So there was someone who had raised their hand, Paramjeet or someone. I forgot the name.
I think that was Amarjeet, I guess.
Amarjeet.
Amar.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
there are
Just
some questions also in call message.
yeah. I'll go to that. Uh, so let me go to Prem Prakash's message. When we send messages in the prompt, I increase the token. We did this, the token question. I tried step one file on cloud platform. I could see that it sent request to Sonnet 4.5. Uh, or or is it specified in the code? Yeah. So in the step one, it is mentioned literally here. This is the model name. You can change the model name to Haiku. You can change it to Opus. You can use whatever model that is active by that platform right now. So you can configure everything here. This is the max token. Okay, don't respond more than 1,000 tokens. And I can change it to 16,000. And we will see in certain tools we are using 16,000 because maybe I have to write a large blog or write 10, HTML files to build a presentation. So that's where it changes. So suppose I
So,
have to build a tool to write tweets. So I'll limit it to 250 tokens, because if I increase tokens, it'll try to utilize that. So it'll write tweets which are 1,000 characters, but I want it to be 2 lines or 3 lines. So I limit it to 150 tokens. You don't respond in more than 150 tokens. So now it is limited. It cannot reply more than 2 sentences.
so is that a hard limit or it might cross it? Say, for example, you mention you specify 1,000 tokens. So is
It,
there
it,
any?
it, it is a hard limit. Sometimes what it will do is that it will churn out the last few sentences. And even if it feels important, it will tell you, if I keep the limit to 5 tokens and I ask it to tell me, do you remember my name? So it knows my name, Neil said, but it'll type NEE and then stop, or maybe give an error.
Got it. And got it. And if it's, let's say we have put a max token limit, say 10,000,
Right.
and the prompt's answer is say something, for example, my name, that would be like what, 50 tokens or 100 tokens at max. So it would just consume the 100 tokens or 150 tokens, right?
No, so this is the output token. So whatever I'm sending is input token. So there are two limits. As I mentioned, there is an input token limit and there is an output token limit. The cost for these two things is also different. Input tokens are cheaper, output tokens are expensive. So, and the limit of input tokens, which is your total context, is up to 1 million. Output is maximum 64,000 tokens. It is not more than that. And that output, I would say 60,000 to be on the safe side, but it does not cross more than that. It cannot respond more than 60,000 tokens at once.
Got it. All right, thanks. Thank you.
So Vaila has a question. What is the difference between passing message inline directly to the LLM versus storing them externally and referencing them? Right. So why I'm storing them externally is within the first chat, if you see, right? So we were literally chatting right here. We were not storing anything. It was just stored in that session at that moment. And when I close the chat, it disappears. That list is being built in real time and it stays here. Why we were storing it in, uh, you know, different files or places with IIDs, etc. That's how you actually are able to build, automations where you might require that data in the next step or the third step, right? So, and if you are not storing that data and you are not able to identify what data is to be inserted here, then you can't build that automation. So, and suppose you had to build a support chatbot and a user comes to chat again. Where are the last three chats, or what are the last two messages? If I just refresh my page, so that all disappears. So that's why we have to kind of store that. Where do we access the documentation to find what all tools are available? So this is a question from Manish. So Manish, so there are two types of tools, as I mentioned. One is tools that you execute yourself. So there is no limit to that. You can build unlimited tools. Whenever there is an API call available for any platform, you can build a tool for that. You can build a tool for, uh, you know, uh, uh, sending a message on Slack, on WhatsApp, or you can build a tool that turns on the light of your room with smart lights. You can build a tool to do Stripe payments. You can build a tool to uh, send a group notification on email. Whatever you can think of, if an API is available, you can build a tool against that. Then there are certain common server level tools. For example, searching the web. Now, searching the web is a very common use case. So LLM providers like OpenAI or Anthropic will provides you tools like web search, which you call when once you call web search, you don't have to write the execution, you don't have to handle the messages. Anthropic itself on their server will do the web search for you and return the result as a user message. Because 70% people are building web search tools for themselves. So it makes sense that all the very common use cases they provide from their end. So there is a list. It is available in this documentation in notes session one. You will see additional learning resources. So within this, you can find for cloud, you can find all the tools and fundamentals here. There are at least 6, 7 tool types which are available at a server level, like creating files or reading files, managing memory, searching the internet, writing code or executing code. So there are certain very common use cases which it says that you can use this. We have built a tool, you can use this directly. Cool. So I guess these were the messages in the QA part. Let me just see the chat ones quickly. So Amol asked, are these the same tools that we can use in developing agents? Yes, yes. And now a bunch of tools and sequence of using these tools is what people call an agent, right? And then there are complexities to those agents itself. And we'll not deep dive into extreme complexities. We'll go to one level more in the next, in the next 40 minutes. Uh, but more level of complexities I'll not dive into today. There are a few, but it's very easy. It's not, something very complicated. It's just you can do parallel tool calls at once. You can do sequential tool calls. At the same time, you can call 10 tools. I can get weather for 10 cities at once instead of asking one by one. And those are use cases for larger problems that you might have to solve. But we are not solving very large problems today. We are understanding basics of how an agent is built. And in the next session, we'll go into a very deep dive. How many tools we can give to an agent. For Anthropic, you can provide approximately 200 tools, and the accuracy of identifying what tool to use is somewhere around 94% for Sonnet and Opus models. Not for Haiku models. Haiku models kind of hallucinate with two walls, but Sonnet and Opus, if you provide a list of 200 tools, as in I don't think someone would use 200 tools. I think you will go up to 10, 12, or maybe 15. I don't think there is a use case of more than that ever, but it has the ability to have 200 tools in one system prompt, in one parameter of tools. I don't where was I saying I don't think there is a limit. You can add the required tools as per the required outcomes. Huh? And there is a hard limit because tools are also counted as input tokens, right? Again, this is a prompt but defined under the tool parameters. Whatever is in the system prompt is also your input token. Whatever is in the tool parameter is also your input system prompt. And whatever messages of user and assistant gets appended in that list is also your input tokens. Because every time I'm doing that API call, that bunch list of words and characters is a bunch of tokens. And when I'm sending that API call, that is called input tokens. A response to that is the output tokens. So there is a limit to input tokens, which is around default is 200K, but there are beta mode available. You can add a parameter in the API, the beta mode on. You can increase the input token limit to 1 million. But then the API cost increases by 2.5x currently for, I guess, all platforms. Yeah, cool. So these are all the questions in the chat. So let's take a quick 5-minute break. We'll just take a 5-minute break and then we will move to, working with automated blog and a presentation builder, which is still complex enough, but I would say, I don't know, you be the judge of that. I use it for production for blogs on my personal websites, and a couple of other people also use it for production. But it can be also, so it can still be evolved into 10-15% better outputs. So let's catch up in 5 minutes. Hi guys. Let's just do a quick check that you are here, and then let's go to the next level. Abhishek, and you can use the repo. It is updated till here, but I still have to add the meeting notes and videos and update the README for other users to, just in case if they have doubts. And that will happen post the session within 3 hours. But if you have no problem with not having certain notes or comments there, you can use it. I think it is the same structure and same level right now. Right. So, should I start? Like, if I have like a majority of people here who are not on or back to their systems, I'll start with the next part. You can just do like a thumbs up reaction or, a comment or something. Cool. Yeah. So let's move to the real, what you would call agents now. We'll do one agent with a single workflow, then we'll do an agent which calls another agent to get the work done. Right. So in this folder, you will find three subfolders. These two products are literally the same. They do the same task. This one is just to show you the differentiation in what if in most cases you would not require a UI in most cases, unless you're building a consumer facing app. If you're building an internal workflow automation, you might want to do it over Slack or over WhatsApp. If you're building a personal system, you still won't want a UI. And unless you're building a consumer app or something that is to be used daily by a bunch of people and you want a common place, then yes, you might need a UI. And that's why the next two examples of the blog and presentation thing are with a UI. They work on the same logic. It is literally the same thing, but it has a UI. But that adds a different layer of not complexity, but like extra. You will have to spend 2 hours to build that UI and see the responses are rendering correctly. Again, you don't have to write any code yourself. I don't write one line of code myself. Literally, if you turn off my internet, I'm not even sure if I can write hello world. But uh, but that doesn't mean that you should not understand what is happening. If you understand what is happening, then you can do whatever. You can do no code, byte code, whatever you want. Right, so let's run this script now. So now what this bot is. So this is just one script. This is literally one script, nothing more. It's a script with around 700 uh, lines. But within these 700 lines, again, I'll come back to that one API, which is everything. Yeah, this is again these 6 lines you would see everywhere, right? Uh, and this is what controls everything. Again, you define the model. This time, if you see, my maximum token limit is 16,000 because I have to write long form blogs for my website, right? Then there is a system prompt. There is again a list of messages, and there is tools. And if you see, there is another parameter called tool choice. So this is useful when you have to ensure and you're building some automation or simulation, and you always want the assistant to use tools. You don't want it to respond text, because when it responds text, you actually need to respond it back as a user, and that breaks automations. And since you want it to use tools so that you can execute that tool automatically and respond, that's why this tool choice is available. It can be auto. You can define a single tool. You can define a list of tools what are to be used. Now let's go to what tools it has. So here are the list of tools that this automation has. There is one tool called web search, right? So web search, as I mentioned, this is available as a server level tool from Anthropic itself. If you want to build your own web search, there are companies like you can do a Google SERP API that is also web search. There is a Tably AI that is a AI based web search. There is Exa AI, right? And within OpenAI, Perplexity, or Anthropic, they have their own web searches as well. Everyone has their own pros and cons, but it is like 1920. You won't find any major difference, right? So there is one web search tool, because when I'm writing the blog, I need to search the web for factual data. I need to search for keyword trends. What are my competitors doing, or maybe some data around my competitors. Except the web search. No, so when there is a server tool, I just have to define web search and the query. I don't have to define anything else. Everything is handled by Anthropic. Except that I have defined my custom tools. Now, logically, every blog would contain at least a header image. I can have multiple images in a blog. I have not made it that complicated. But for now, I just include one header image of a blog, because every blog would at least have a header image, a thumbnail image. So I have mentioned tool image generator. So whenever the LLM feels like it needs to generate an image, it can call this tool. Right. So this when it calls this tool, I have told it that we will call the Google's latest image gen model. You can pass the prompt, and I have defined, this is again a system prompt itself. Within the prompt, parameter, I've defined how can it pass the prompt, what are the best practices of that prompt. And I've told it that whenever you're using this tool, that prompt is required. You cannot call image generation tool without the prompt. Then how will I generate and execute a tool and generate an image? The next tool I have is image uploader. Now, why is there an image uploader tool? Now, suppose as in currently my blogs I have hosted, I'm using Superbase, I'm using my Postgres DB itself as a CMS, content management system. Maybe you are hosting it on WordPress, maybe it is on Framer, maybe it is on Shopify. It can be at any place, right? So whenever an image is generated from any image gen model, it cannot be accessed by Shopify or WordPress or any other web-based service. So I have to upload that image and get a public URL, which is you basically adding an image to Google Drive and getting a link at a very basic level. But for maybe for this, I'm adding it at Superbase because it provides storage. You can add it at any other service which you prefer, or whatever is compatible with your CMS system, right? So this is currently configured to my CMS. You can change and configure it to WordPress, Shopify, It's like a 10-minute job. And if you don't want to configure, you want the HTML file and manually upload the blog, you can do that as well in this current automation. Right? Then there's the next tool called Blog Creator. I just go to the parameters of image uploader. That what is the path? This is the path. Once the image is generated, it gets downloaded into my system or my server. So it will have a path. Where is the image? It is in my documents image folder. Right? That path. And what is the file name? What is the name of the file? So so whenever I have to execute this image uploader, I'll get this path. I'll take that image and I upload to that service. That is my execution. Then I have a tool called Blog Creator. So now this is the actual blog writer functions, because I want structured output, because a blog would have a lot of data and I always want to parse and store it in a certain way. I have templates, I have SEO guidelines, I have to ensure it matches. So I've given it a structure that for now I store it in a CSV. You can store it in a Markdown, you can store it in a HTML file directly, whatever your platform supports. Even if it is a WordPress plugin directly or a Shopify plugin directly, they will have a list of fields. You send the title here, you send the body here. So you will change those fields based on your execution. Right? So I have a tool called Blog Creator. Now it has a bunch of properties, that this is the title of the blog, what will be the slug of the blog, what will be the meta title for SEO guidelines. Again, I have defined SEO meta title maximum 100 characters, because it should not be longer than 120, 130 characters. It comes under bad SEO practices. Meta description. What will be the actual content of the blog? The full content in HTML format. Because since on my current website, I have a template where I insert the content, or automatically the blog renders in my template, and it can change depending upon your integration. It literally depends on your integration. Then it's a brief summary of the blog. Then this is the featured image, which image we generated, because now we have to pass the link of that image within that blog. So that image link needs to be publicly accessible. That's why we had the image uploader tool, so that it can generate image, upload, get a URL, use that URL to pass here in the blog content. Category of the blog, tags of the blog, author content, and this I mentioned what are the required things. Then another final tool that we have in this script is a blog inserter. Now this is the tool that executes the final step of pushing your blog wherever it is required to be pushed. So I have created the blog, stored that structured output data. I can, if I want to make it easier and faster, like without blog inserter, I can still do that. I can execute this tool in such a way that, okay, blog creator gave me a blog and I inserted it automatically. But if I want to keep a dynamic system and keep changing where I insert the blog, I can have a blog inserter tool, which the execution can be dynamic. Insert to Superbase, insert to WordPress, insert to Shopify. That is your execution, right? These are the list of tools that is available. Now you have, again, the other thing is your prompt. So now when the script runs, you can do two things. You can either provide the data yourself, what blog you want to write, or you can ask the AI to research, figure out what blog it has to write, right? Based on that, there are two prompts. If user provides a topic, then use this system prompt. If user is not providing any topic, use this system prompt. So it is defined. If user has not provided any topic, then you first of all find on the user's current website what are the blogs present, so that we don't do duplicate content, because I might already have 50 blogs. I don't want to repeat the content on my website. So it will figure out what is the available blogs on my website. Then do a web search and figure out trends. You can even integrate Ahrefs, any third-party tool for your keyword research here, right? So I'm not taking it into that complexity, because it will create more tools right now. So keeping it, okay, the LLM will predict what is the keyword. It will search the web and find competitors around that keyword. Then make the content, and then certain guidelines. This is how, and this is the variables that get inserted here, because it has to generate a blog about my brand, right? So I've just written my brand context in a text file, and that text file gets picked up in this brand context. I can keep changing brands. I can do it for Grotex. I can do it for my brand. I can do it for Google by just changing content in this file. You can do it for your brand by doing the same thing, right? This is where the existing blogs get passed. Right? So I get the existing blogs fetched from my website. I get the title, so I don't duplicate content. Then these are the instructions that gets also passed. And this was the system prompt. And then we have that API call. Except that there is, in this file, what you will see would be the execution of those tools. Those executions are in different methods. Right now, most of it is for Google Gemini, generating image, uploading image to Superbase. You can change that execution, practice around with it. for your own platform. If you don't want to upload anywhere, you can just change that execution to save the blog locally, which we have also available in the next folder. Right. So I'll just move to this folder now. So I'll just do the same thing, cd back, and I go to cd. Right. I go to level 4. Yeah. So now I'm in this folder and I have to just run. I'm running this script now. Next time we will run a UI based. Literally next app we will run will be a UI based app. Sorry, I talked for so this is how you debug. So it says module not found. So I'll just clear here and I really forgot that I have to turn on my virtual that sandbox environment that I was talking about, right? So I did not turn on my env. So it was not able to find the software required to run this execution. And this is just one command. The command remains same. You can change the name of your virtual environment. You can call it my environment, your environment, GroupX environment, Google environment, whatever. But standard to keep it easy, just write VENV. It's virtual environment. I'm going back to that folder. This time I had a typo. My bad. PYTON. When I do my minus m, I don't have to type the .py of the file. If I remove the minus m, I can just type bot and just a way of executing. It doesn't matter. Right. So now the script is asking me either I enter a topic that I want to generate, right? So for example, I'll enter a topic so that we will see in real time how it generates. So Tidal is one of my competitors. So my brand is Reply Daddy. Tidal is a Reddit marketing tool. I'm telling it generate this blog because people search for alternative, etc. So I'm telling it generate for this. So right now you will see your logs in your terminal. Okay, it has started. Now it has started executing those tools and figuring out okay what are the keywords. It will do a research because it has to enter citations. It will get data about. It already has no brand context, but whatever extra data it needs, it will search the web, right? So now it generated the first image using tool as an app. It's not generating the image. It has figured out the details what to go in the blog, and it's saying using tool image generator, and image has been generated and saved locally, so we can actually see what the image is. It generated images. Yeah, so it has generated. This is title, and this is reply daddy. So the blog header is title versus reply daddy, and it is for a Reddit product. So you can see it is showcasing Reddit inside the screen as well. Right. So now it is actually uploading the image to the image storage service, which will generate a public URL, which can be actually finally inserted into the blog. And once this is done, now it will do a bunch of web searches. It will do a bunch of simulations within it. I'm not printing all the conversations here. You can, as in you can practice till level 4, and then you can actually, if you want to print conversations, you can use the same logic to print or save the conversation uh, in your terminal if you want to. But I don't think you'll require that because in the next step itself, we have a UI based chat, so you see the conversation. So it takes approximately, on average, to write one blog anywhere between 2.5 to 3.5, 4 minutes. But that is good given that the quality of the blog is there. It is factual data, and you will just see the output. Once it will give me the URL where it is uploaded. Yeah, by that time, if anyone has any question, you can ask because it'll take a minute and a half. You just have to keep waiting. So just to add here, for example, now this time, say, you have someone who wants to reduce the time. Right. Yeah. So now you can use different models. You can reduce token limit. You can do parallel tool calls. You can do that efficiency at that time. Right now, I've not added that complexity. I can do parallel tool calls to, parallel write parts of the blog. Okay, I called 5 agents. One is writing the first paragraph. One is creating the table instead of one agent doing all of it. Right. So it says ki the blog is done. Here is the link of the blog. So I'll just copy this link and I'll see if the blog is published. So this if you can see, this is on my live domain, right? And the blog has been published, that same image, title versus reply, and the blog is, with all the mandatory SEO guidelines, all the headings, data, then the links within it, all the links, then the schema markup, right? So these are all defined within the tools, uh, or it is as per SEO standards. Then all the citations of whatever data is mentioned would also be present. So here are the references. If I click on this, it is opening the link. So I know it has actually searched the web and found this data. So it has linked that title, platform, right? How Reddit, whatever data it utilized in this blog, whatever content it added in this blog, it has mentioned it here. And so this is the current automation of this blog. Now there are a bunch of improvements you can always make to this. And then I can add few more tools to insert images within the blog. Add 5, 6 images in the blog to insert tables, to do internal linking. So I can create 3, 4, 5 more tools, right? But that just increases complexity at at this level. At level 4, I don't want to add that complexity, but you can play with it and you can do this if you want to. And so now let's do a similar version of this. It's the same version, but it is now in a UI. And what changes there is that you just have to handle a bunch of stuff. That one script is now converted into your multiple files. You have a front end, you have your tools, you have your app, you have your configuration. Because when you have to run it in a UI, you have to run a server and you have to run a app. So this is a very simple Python based Flask app. So that it has a G Unicorn server, and you can run. And you don't need the G Unicorn on the local host at least. But when there is an app, there is an interaction from a front end to back end. You have to do API calls. So you need a server, a client, and a server side to actually execute that stuff. Yeah. So now this is literally the same script in my UI. Now I could have done, as in, if I don't require a UI, I can always build scripts that is faster and more easier to do, because front end is very subjective and it creates a bunch of its own problems. But again, since you don't have to code, you can practice around and play around. So this is the same brand.context file. If you see in my folders, I have brand.context, right? I will just hide this. So I will change the name here right now. This is different. I am closing it here and I say key. I just edited this. So I'll just zoom in. And so I added this line. I just added this and I'll save. So I've made an API call that updates that file and in real time, and the API call goes to the server and it updates the brand context. So in the backend, this data is now updated from my UI. And so I have the brand context. Now again, the same thing. Either I can provide a blog topic or I can just click on generate. It says that leave empty to auto generate. So if I click on generate, now you see the process and logs. Now you can, uh, based on your UI use case, you can utilize this data however you want to utilize. You see ChatGPT, they have different kind of animations, and Anthropic has different kind of animations. It totally depends on your use case. This is a very basic level of those notifications being visible here. So the user is engaged. Okay, right now it's auto generating topic based on existing ideas and trends, starting blog generation, selecting a unique idea, Now it is again going to that process of generating the header image. So now it is generating the header image for a blog. Then it will insert that same, it will go through the same process, it will upload that image, then write that blog. And this I would say is a very simple sequential agent. There is only one agent. There is one chat context. So you start the agent and you start the chat simulation where there are tools. There is a system prompt. Then there is a user message. Please generate this blog, or please research the web and generate blogs which are not like this, right? And you can play around with that. You can send keywords from Ahrefs, from your Google Search Console, whatever you want to send. That completely depends on your tool configurations. Then, in terms of improvements, for example, there is a brand called Outrank, right? So this brand does right now somewhere around 250K in monthly recurring revenue. So they also generate blogs. Their only product is generating blogs. This is a listicle type of blog. You can add the improvements you can add is article categories. There are listicles. There are your how to use. There are case studies. Listicles is a comparison of tools. So now what additions it has? It has images within the blog. That one addition, one view tool, and then it has a table. Yeah, it inserts a table. Rest all the tools are same, and then it publishes this to my website. So I can, as an for me personally, it took me 2-3 hours to build a personal tool for myself. So I didn't prefer paying $200 a month to this brand, and I use my own blog script. And since suppose if you're solving for your own company internal tooling or for yourself, uh, there is no problem. If you're building a SaaS product or it's a consumer facing thing that you're building, then obviously you would need further knowledge and assistance to kind of improvise it. Make you have to connect databases, you have to have payment gateways. That is the only new level of complexity. All your logic and backend logic is done. Now the complexities that will come would be the architecture. Okay, if there are 10,000 users, how will this happen? How will we handle rate limits? So those are the problems you'll run into once but you don't have to worry about them unless you actually run into them. Like I have a small SaaS live right now, and I know that it will start breaking when it reaches 1,000 active users. So it has around 60 active users right now, and I don't worry. And most of the architecture is half baked, but it can sustain 1,000 users. But once there are 1,000 users, that is a really good problem to have. I can get a few developers on board, take assistance, and solve that architecture problem. Right. So it should not scare you or stop you from experimenting. So you can just you saw that one page script was able to literally insert a blog on a live domain in 3 minutes. This, if I go to a freelancer, would cost me at least 50 to $120 to write one blog. But then, yeah, again, if you want to start building a microservice and start selling to people, then you build a front end. On this front end, now I'll connect a login. Before that, I'll connect a database. Once that is done, I'll create tables so that I can sustain that user data. Then I'll connect a payment gateway, right? And then I will do integrations of that payment gateway. Those are again all APIs and APIs talking to each other. But you don't have to worry about those APIs because once you start thinking about it, it becomes a blocker. So that's why in LLMs, the easy part is there is only one API, which we are learning. And if you learn that one API, it unlocks a lot of other blockers. Yeah. So now this is done, blog inserted successfully. It has given me either I can download now or I can preview blog. So if I click on preview blog, so it has created a topic, multi-subreddit marketing strategy, without getting banned. And this is my brand's moat and description that we ensure that you never get banned on Reddit. And this is a very searched keyword that how do I not get banned on Reddit? So we created a blog with a lot of content with the right. I can check the SEO title description is correct. The URL is indexable. And this is my host domain, host domains problem. It's not the blog's problem, but yeah, rest for the blog, everything is perfect. All my headings, H1s, H2s is there. My links again are there. My schemas are there. I have only one image. I can increase that by adding one more tool. But right now I don't need it, so I'm not add. And even for this session, it is not kind of required. Yeah. So this is the blog, and then you can see it did web search at least 23 times in those 4 minutes, because without searching, it can't find those links. So you see, these are all real links from where this data is cited and sourced on the blog. So it is very well validated against the keywords that my brand wants, against the content that my platform already has, so that it is not duplicated, right? And further, obviously there are 10 other improvements you can do to this, but this is a uh, very, simple, I would say, very simple uh, agent which has a single chain of thought or a single sequence, right? So this was a simple blog automation, and now we'll just do another level of complexity. Yeah, so I'll answer a couple of questions and then let's continue. How do you trust the output and verify whether each new blog or piece content is factual and not hallucinations? So yeah, so I have it's in my system prompts and descriptions. I have mentioned that you have to search the web, read that data, and insert those citations. So and I've kept the temperature really low, and I keep checking my Google Search Console. So the traffic is increasing. I've checked it 5, 6, 7 times, but once I've checked it 5, 6, 7 times, I don't check it the next 20 times. And even if there is some problem, it's not a and sometimes if there's a 2, 3% chance, you can just delete the blog. There's no negative impact. Unless you have that efficiency problem, then you can add more tools for validation. Once the blog is written, you can have another agent verify that data. Whatever is written in the blog is factual or not. Right? That problem again is solvable. That you can have a parallel agent, it validates the blog, whatever data is written, it searches the web, it finds that the citation is right, and it checks. It does not maintain the same context. Its only job is to validate whatever is written in the blog. If it has written your pricing plan, your features of the company, so you will provide your agent some data. Okay, this is the factual pricing plan. These are the features. Please check if in the blog these are factually correct or not. So you can solve that. So this is sorry, Vaibhav's question.
All right, thank you. Makes sense.
Can you show how can we call the tool in parallel to improve the latency? I can show, but like I would not prefer to show it in this session because like first of all, most people are not even attending the first session, and we are doing tool calls, sequential tool calls, and we're looking at code, so people get overwhelmed. But in the next session, if you guys want, we can do parallel tool calls as well. I already have a product live which does 5, 6, 7 database queries at once to get data very quickly. Yeah. So now let's go to simple presentation builder. So this is a first principle thought presentation builder. So now if you use online presentation builders, if you go and search AI presentation, right, you will see bunch of products running bunch of ads, and 90% of those products, what they do, they are building computer use agents or just text agents. They will try that a LLM can go use a PowerPoint or a Google Slides, or they will have predefined templates and they just generate AI based text and insert that data, right? But what I thought was that instead of doing all this, why not since AI is really good at creating web pages, so why not create web pages and convert that into the presentation format? Because for the user, the end output matters. They just want the presentation and they want the final presentation. They don't want to edit it further, right? So I have built a very basic version which I can improve it for the next session if you want. But anyway, I will be improving this. But this is a very basic version which will generate the presentation that you want. And by adding 3, 4 more tools to it, you can generate literally any presentation that any design studio or any place generates for you at a cost of $1,000 to $1,500. So this actual requirement is from a design studio where startups come to generate pitch decks. So they told that there are a lot of startups who pay $1,000 to $800. We can't spend 10 days. Let's build a tool for solving this problem. And so this kind of solves that problem. It just needs a bunch of improvements, but that we can do in the next session or not the current next session, or we can do some other problem as well. Right. So again, this is an app. That's I'm just running Python -3 app. So again, so when your app is running on your server, that server can get connected to a domain. That's how servers work. Right now, my local system is the server, so that's where this app will run. This time on this is the AI presentation builder. So what now we'll see what tools this presentation builder has. So this has two parallel agents now. It has a main chat agent and it has a presentation builder agent, right? So because I have to build it further, so I have kept it a little modular so that we can also understand in this session, and you can understand how you can start building further complex agents. Right? So I will do a GrowthX example itself. I'll do a sample. Okay, hi, I want to build a pitch deck for GrowthX for a Series A fundraise. Right. So I can upload brand assets, logos right here. So I'll just give say one screenshot of GrowthX website and one logo so that it does not even use the images in the presentations right now. I can allow it to use images. It just is for reference for styling, colors, just a little sense of the brand. Because all the present, you don't want a template and then you edit a template and build a presentation. Like, what's the point of that when you can build custom presentations for every brand when they have certain data? Right? And I have configured it to ask questions to me so that it can build the factual presentation and I don't need to edit it after the first output. Right. So it is asking me about the fundraise, how much you are looking to raise, what is the use of funds, some data about GrowthX, a team and market, what you want to do. So I already have a simulated chat. So I'll just copy and paste because I don't want to type over and over again. Yeah, so we are looking for $2 million. This is the so since the temperature is zero, that's why I'm sure that this is going to be responsive. But that temperature ensures that probability. So every time I send this message, 98% times there will be like a 2% variation in this message, but it will be same. But I keep it at 0.7. This message can change every time. So that's why I'm confidently able to copy and paste. So ask me another fine question. What are your revenue projections? What is the team, etc. So now I'll give it half the information. Remaining, I'll tell you I have this much information. Please search the web for more data about team and other details. So I've told you this is next year's plan. This is random data. Current team size is also random. Uh, Rest, please search the web. You will find everything about us and the team. I'm not told who is the founder, who is the co-founder. Have we already done some fundraise? I have not told anything except the data I provided here. Rest, whatever you will see in the presentation, are will be just through web searches. Again, I can do this with a backend script only, but for just learning purposes, I've made a UI for this. So you can see what is happening. So right now, the main agent is thinking and gathering data, and I'll show you the backend process as well. So this is my list of messages that were happening because you can see in your logs also when you are running your app, you will get logs also printed. I'm printing logs in this. Right. So this was the last message I had, and at this time it is conducting its own research. Now it is using a tool called Generate PPT, right? And now I'll just move to the front end. So now if you see triggering PPT generation. So at this time, what has happened that my main chat was my first agent or first simulation. Now that main chat had a tool. I provided it with a tool called Generate PPT. That tool itself is another AI simulation because that tool will invoke one further AI function. That AI function has its own list of tools and its own list of tasks. Why people do that and why that is required? Suppose I have a lot of tokens or my task is context heavy, or I don't want to block the main chat. I want to do this in the background. I want to queue a task in the background. Right now I'm showing it in the front end, but you can just send this message and it will show you, okay, just we'll send you a mail in 2 minutes and the presentation is done. So at this time, it called some agent. That agent was given the required data. Right? Once that required data was given, it has a bunch of tools to create folders, to write files based on that data, based on the brand guidelines, right? And then it has tools to convert that. You convert those files into web-based screenshot, open into web pages, take screenshots, stitch those screenshots together, convert that into a PPTX format. Because in the end, for the user, the output required is a PPTX format, nothing more than that. Now, we'll dive into the code. Let's see the output first, and we'll dive into the code and we'll see what can be improved, what can be changed, how this configuration of two uh, agents is working. So one agent is calling another agent, and then that agent is telling the first agent that my task is complete. You can hand over the PPT file or the link to the user, which will just happen now. So I told it to generate 8 slides. So I guess it will generate 8, and then Slide number 7. Slide number 8. So yeah, so it is now using it has a tool to just check the list of files. Okay, okay, this is the list. I have to stitch together or open. So now it has a tool which is opening a headless browser. So it opens a headless browser. It is actually taking screenshots of that HTML page because I can't give the HTML as a file to the user, right? He wants a presentation. So I have to give them a presentation. So in the end, the output matters, nothing else. Now the presentation is completed. Now you see the sub agent task went away, and you have a human readable message from the main chat. Your pitch deck is ready, and this is the link to download. And I've downloaded. Let's open it in slides. I don't know how it will look. It should look decent enough for a yeah, yeah. So this is the slide. So now it could only write HTML files. It cannot use images right now. It cannot use any SVG files or infographics, but it can write HTML code. I can add those tools to make it very perfect. I use brand assets, icons. Those tools can be configured, but for this session, I've just kept it till here. So I have a slide. This is the data that I provided. This is how growth. And this data now I did not give this data. Apple, Crate, Microsoft, Google, Netflix, zero. This data it got from the web searches. Everything about offline events, etc. It got again from the internet. The list of and the count of members I gave. I did not provide the previous, pre-seed funding data. This also it got from the internet for the missing data, the list of investors. Business model is something that I tasked. I provided a random number. What are the revenue streams, NPS? Uh, what is the market opportunity? Is something also I provided. Yeah, and this is why we need the funding. Team and vision. I did not provide the team name. What is the who's what their job profile is. This again is data which came from the web. So this is now an 8-page presentation uh, without any complex tools. Once you add a bunch of complex tools to it, you can build any kind of presentation you want to build. As in, like it is literally up to your imagination. Right. So now we'll dive into the code a little bit, and then we'll just take questions. Yeah. So in this, you will see there is a protocol agent. In this, you have your two agents. One is a main chat agent. Then there is your presentation agent. Then there is a common tool executor, which we are discussing over and over again, the execution of tools. And then I kept the tools separate this time because the list of tools is longer. So, and I've added comments that the main AI agent has these two tools. It has a web search tool so that it can gather data. It has a tool that it can call the second AI agent. Once it has the data, it can call the second agent. So that tool is called generate PPT, and that it requires this is the description of that tool. It requires these properties. It requires a topic. It requires the description, the details, the data that needs to be present, brand logo details, brand guideline details, brand color details. Now I can increase it. Brand assets. I can graphy, uh, actual brand logo, links, multiple things. Then there's a bunch of tools for the actual PPT creator agent. So it has tools of creating a folder, right? It can create a file. It can read a file if you want to add functionality in your UI. Okay, you showcase a slide and take input from the user to update a slide. You want to add edit and update functionality into your presentation tool. So you can use literally this read file tool, and whatever slide the user has selected, add the prompt, pass it to this agent. It will read the file. You see the prompt and it'll modify, right? Then again, for that purpose, there is an update file tool. There is a list file tool. You can search for files. Then there is a tool called return results. This is how this agent decides that its work is done, and the main agent realizes, okay, I can now present the output to the user if I'm in the chat format, right? So that's how these two agents are working together, because this first agent, when it is working, when it calls the PPT generator. So as you saw in the last chats, there is a assistant message tool use. It has to be always followed by a message of tool result. Now, how do I get that user message of tool result? Because since it called some other AI agent, and that is going to take 3 minutes of time. So either I can pass some random message, hard coding it, or I can configure my other agent that when your task is complete, you return the message as tool result because you are the tool itself. So we evolved from a tool being a single API call to a tool being a in itself a sequence of API calls, a bunch of API calls, right? So that's how I would say these simple chat message to chat to a simple sequence of simulation to complex tools and agents and workflows start getting building, and there is no end to the complexity. And I can have literally for every task I can have a sub agent. Find financial data one agent, find the right images one agent, find the best icons one agent, right? Decide the font one agent, whatever complexity I want to add. SVG creator, I want to add infographics, bar charts. So you can create bar charts with SVG. So there is one agent who just gets data that this is the bar chart we want to generate, this is the brand guideline, generate the SVG, return the link to me so that I can insert the SVG in my presentation, so that I can have bar charts, graph in my presentation. So you can improve that presentation to literally get any output that you can, and at least better output than that you can build yourself in a presentation or a slide kind of a product, and at par to a bunch of design agencies. I would not say the best design agencies, but a bunch of design agencies, because like the top 1% human talent will always beat AI skill and knowledge, but the 90-95% on average you will see almost similar results, right? So this is what we had today. And I'll just now take FAQs for the next level. What we can do is I'll submit a feedback link to everyone. Based on that feedback, that's either if you want to make, and if you want me to make the complex structures of these two automations, we can do that. A more complex blog agent and a more complex presentation agent with any use case or requirement that you might have. Or if you have some real business problem that you want to solve at your company, or something that you already want to solve and you think it's a complex problem, you can tell me that, and if it resonates with other people and a couple of other people also, or it's a very intriguing problem, we can do a deep dive on two very complex agents in the next session, right? Again, we can, and totally depending on the feedback. By default, what I'll do is I'll do these, and then I'll do a complex support bot and a website builder like Lovable. We'll literally, I literally build 80-85% of Lovable in the next 2 weeks. And it'll not take 2 weeks, it'll take 2-3 days. But we'll build Lovable, and you can open source and use Lovable for yourself for life. Or if you have any better use case, we can do that. Right? So I'll just answer the FAQs now, which are pending. And if anyone has any questions, they can keep asking. Yeah. Vaibhav has a question. How much time did it take to build this condition builder chat tool on Python? To be honest, I'll just share you. Even I'm not sure. But let's verify. Right. So I started working approximately 9 hours ago, and within 9 hours, I built all the blog script, blog agent, presentation agent, your chat level 3, all the input outputs, the README, the cleansing of the code a little bit. So, and within this, I played a couple of Dota games as well. But so that's all the time it took. But I was able to do this in only this much time because I've been doing this since 2.5 years. But after doing this since 2.5 years, I made a lot of mistakes, and I figured out what is the best approach to quickly grasp this knowledge. And that I would say is from the part of this one API. Because once you know that you have to just learn one API, it becomes easier. And once you start learning that, you automatically understand how other APIs work, how data models work, how data structures work, when you have to save data, what are rate limits, because all the concepts for all other APIs are same. And since you're not doing some deep tech, most applications are CRUD applications like create, read, update, and delete, right? And that is literally making an API call, reading some data, updating that data, editing that data, and deleting that data. There is nothing more than that. It's just like you can create puzzles and solve puzzles, and the better you are at solving puzzles, the better outputs you can get. Right. Have you How much time have you explored in Node.js? Yeah, I started in Node.js, but since when I started, I 2.5 years ago, it was very confusing for me. The problem was I was not able to understand where my front end is ending and where my back end is beginning. All files are TSX, JS, and for a beginner who can't read code, it becomes very problematic. And then I stumbled into Python, Flask, and Jinja, that was very clear. You could .py is backend, .html is front end. Very simple, very clear. Now I have now at least half of my problem is solved. Now I can fight further. And then I figured out, okay, why there is problem with Jinja. Then I started using React for frontend. The backend Python, React frontend. So, but I now know why React is useful. What problems it solves. Dynamic data loading. Jinja has a lot of problem with that. React solves it. So that's how I evolved to this. That's why I'm trying to compress this in this. If you can try do any language, it's as in anyway I don't write code. But for beginners, I would say Python is easier.
Got it.
For if you're a developer, you can do Node.js. You're you can do Rust, Go, Golang, whatever you want to do. No one is paying for the language in the end anyway.
Right. And
Can you showcase how can we do that is done parallel tool call? We'll do next time if required. On many websites, we see bot is thinking in process update. Do we get yes? Anshul is asking a question that we see the bot is thinking and updating. We get this response in the API, and if you have to show it in the front end, you have to configure web sockets or server side events to send this data and keep updating the user with the status of every task. That again depends on your use case. If it is an internal tool and you know it will take 4 minutes to get the result, why would you want to spend 1 day to write code for server-side events and WebSockets? But if it is a customer-facing tool, obviously you don't want the user to get anxiety and leave the platform, so you would do that. Again, it depends on your use case if it is actually solving some problem for you. With the recent introduction of code execution with MCP in cloud, how does this change the current tool execution workflows? Considering it's supposed to be a better way to handle tools. So, Kiran, I've used a few MCPs, and my early experience has not been great because what MCP does is it most of the times there are so many tools available. For example, in Ahrefs, there are 124 tools available. I have to use only one keyword search, but every time those 124 tools get loaded, and and many times it will call 3 4 tools parallelly, and I can't change the configuration of those tools. It will get me random data which I did not even request for, and it takes me 10 minutes to integrate one Ahrefs API. Unless it solves a very good problem or a very standard problem, and the tool definitions are very secure and it becomes a global standard. Like for example, every company is providing MCP at the same standard, and you can configure or change some things. Till that time, it is not very efficient because like half for half services you will be using MCPs. For half of it, you will be writing your own tool executions, and if there is some change or problem, then you get stuck. Then you have to again write your own tool solution. So, and that is what I've read and heard from a bunch of people who have tried MCPs. That's why it's not taking off really fast. For this, every company has to kind of adopt and become a AI first company. Example, to give you a practical example, if Stripe has one API, which my LLM can call and give data, and it can respond for everything. So I don't have to integrate with 30 APIs of Stripe. Stripe can figure it out at their end. I don't want to see 32. Just give me one endpoint where my LLM sends you raw data. Here, this is the order ID, transaction ID. Tell me when the trial is ending. Now, I don't want to figure out which API to use every time. And Stripe will do that in this AI first world. This will start happening. It is already happening. That's why MCPs are coming in, but it will dilute and become more efficient. And I guess that's when it will be very useful. Yeah, I guess that was all the questions in the QA. Uh, yeah, so that's all the questions. So just one, favor. If you guys can go ahead and leave your feedback, and with the feedback, if you have anything, any use case in mind for the third session, any complex agent, if you want to do the current complex agent current agent at a higher level, or you want to do the agents which are listed in this document, uh, or you have any specific use case that you want to solve, we can do any of that. I'm open to it. It does not take more than, I would not say it takes more than 3 days to build 90% of any complex agents. At least because most of the problems start coming when you have users and payment gateways and databases. That takes additional time. So I just added the feedback link in the chat. Right. Cool. So yeah, so I guess in 3-4 hours post the session, the Git repo is already updated. I will further update the README file with the meeting recording, the notes, uh, and any resources that I have, or any guidelines or any additional comments or things that you should be aware of. I'll add there. And most of the comments and details are present in these folders itself. Right. And I would suggest it's fairly easy. Just download VS Code or Cursor. I have not written code. You don't have to write code. You just have to be able to read it. The way to read and where to start, and where to press enter, and where is the file. That is all you need to know, and rest is all your thinking and logic. That's all. And it is just a better way of byte coding, I would say. Right. Cool. All right, guys. Bye then. If anyone has a question, they can ask. Else everyone can start leaving.
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you,
Okay.
Neil. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Hey Neil, hi.
Yeah. Hi, Raja.
I joined your session for the first time today, so I've missed out on the previous two sessions. I was just going
This is
through them.
the second session. There was only one session before.
Oh, okay. Then I missed only one session.
Right.
I have built things before, but I don't think I have the understanding of APIs and how to work around that. So I think your uh, GitHub would be the right place. Or is there any other resources you would recommend me to go through to understand the basic?
Yeah. So you can either start with the GitHub I provided, because it starts from the very basics, a very unit level single API call, and additionally within this GitHub itself, you have additional resources directly from OpenAI or Cloud,
Okay,
because that
perfect.
that is where I learned from.
Okay,
As in,
perfect.
if as in you don't have to do any courses from anywhere. If they have all the courses are built on their documentation. So
Got it.
they're provided cookbooks. So
Okay.
in this session one folder in the notes, you will see additional learning resources. So
Perfect.
if you prefer cloud, they have their own cookbook, and you will find. Sorry, I guess they changed the link. I guess I have to update this because of some reference it got changed. But yeah, so they have their own GitHub repo, where they have around 35 examples, 35 to 300 examples for every use case or agent that you might have to build. And they've
Understood.
already built and kept it there. You can learn from it.
Just to simplify this in my head, when you say agent, is this a simple the automation workflow that we build, or is it like
Yes.
overarching word that we are using?
As in, like, it's been only 2 years and everyone has different words for it. So I would say a simulation of a chat. That is a definition that you can understand, and a more complex simulation of a chat, extreme
Okay.
complex simulation of a chat. These are all
Got
kind
it.
of agents, tools, or whatever you want to call them.
Got it.
Everyone
Got it.
keeps debating on that.
Understood. Thank you so much, Nate. It was very informative today. I'll go through your GitHub repo.
Yeah.
Thanks.
No problem.